Hello, my name is Brendan, and welcome back to Brendan's Film Reviews. With Spider Noir releasing on Amazon Prime in a few months, I've decided to go back and look into the live action Spider Man and Spider Man character films from Sony Pictures. And unfortunately, the most recent movies are not the ones that are great. So, in order to have the best conversation, I'm talking about the most interesting of these movies, Madam Web. I don't think I need to explain this to most people, but I will talk about the story and what this movie is about to get us started. So, with that out of the way, let's just get right into this review. Madam Web stars Cassandra Webb, played by Dakota Johnson. In this movie, she's a paramedic in 2003. Why is the movie set in 2003? Beats me. Anywho, she's a paramedic who, after a incident where she falls into a lake, or more specifically a river, she realizes she can see into the future, and she learns she's the only one that can protect these three girls from death. This movie is infamous for a lot of reasons, and I'm just going to tell it to you straight. This is one of the worst movies I have ever had to see in my life. I'm going to start by talking about the characters of the movie because I think it's important to talk about these characters. This movie involves three girls who are in danger of dying in this movie. So you would think that these three girls would be the most important part of this story. Because after all, they're the reason you're interested in this story and interested in whether they can survive. Unfortunately, much like every other character in this movie, none of these characters are interesting. Starting with Cassie, she's not interesting in the slightest. I don't know what arc she goes on. She doesn't even have an arc, excuse me. I shouldn't even try to justify one because she doesn't have an arc at all in this entire movie. She doesn't grow as a character, and I don't even know if she's a great person in this movie at all because she doesn't start out as one. As we see how good a person she is, as a little boy goes up to her, giving her a picture saying thanks. And all she can do is say, "Oh, give it to my friend over here." Like a jerk. Not to mention, she tells a pregnant woman that her mother died during childbirth, which is not something you should be telling a pregnant woman. Anywho, yeah, she does not go through any sort of arc, nor do I think she's even a compelling or even a good character. Moving over to the three girls. Unless you know them from the comics, you're not going to remember their names because they're not interested in the slightest either at all. They literally have one character trait that you honestly forget about whenever they're on screen, unless they're specifically talking about it. First of all, you have Julia Carpenter. She's a shyer girl. You have Anya Corazon. She is a math whiz. And you have Maddie Franklin. She rides a skateboard and is kind of a jerk. There's nothing remotely interesting, nor do I care about these girls at all. And that's a shame because therefore I don't care about the plot at all either. I don't care if they live, I don't care if they die. It doesn't matter to me whatsoever because the characters are not interesting at all. And no character exemplifies this more than our villain, Ezekiel Sims. Ezekiel Sims is one of the worst characters I've seen in a movie. He talks like a literal robot. Literally, the first words he says from the moment he's in this movie, he talks like a robot. All the way until he dies. Everything he says in this movie sounds like a robot. Nothing he says sounds like an actual human being is saying it. Nothing about the character whatsoever. And it doesn't help that the character is not interesting either. He talks about, "Oh, I don't want to die because I've built all this stuff. I built this reputation." What have you built? I don't see anything. The only thing I can see is maybe you're rich. I don't know because you have all this technology. I don't know. This character has a motivation that I would say is reasonable. My problem is his information doesn't make sense because the movie doesn't tell you what he has earned when he received the spider powers. There is nothing about the character that is remotely interesting, and I'd argue the only thing that's interesting is the way his character's written, because the way he talks like a machine. Anywho, the big thing about this movie to me is the nitpicks. Because every second of this movie, I feel I'm nitpicking. I'm not watching the movie because I don't care about the story of the characters. I only care about what insane stuff is going on. And there is a lot of stuff. For example, halfway through the movie, she goes to Peru. Now, on paper, that doesn't sound insane. However, in the context of the movie, we learn that Ezekiel Sims has technology where he's able to track people from all, he's able to see people. He has cameras everywhere. Everywhere, every house, everywhere he has cameras. So, for starters, she goes to Peru to figure out what's going on. And she leaves for about, I'd say, a week. He is not able to find these girls in a week at all. When literally moments earlier, these girls walk into a diner and, they draw all attention to themselves because apparently, even though you're on the run, stupidity is in the air. He's able to find these girls in 5 seconds because this one dude is reading a magazine and calls the police. On top of that, he probably could have found them anyways because there's cameras everywhere. People think these girls are abducted the entire movie, and that never gets resolved whatsoever. So what's to stop somebody from calling the cops and be like, hey, I found these missing girls? It's insane. But no scene, to me, exemplifies everything wrong with this movie than the scene where Ezekiel finds the girls for the first time. Or more specifically, he learns what they look like. So essentially, he knows he's going to die because he's seen these girls in his visions. He has these visions of himself dying, 10, 20 years in the future, probably 10. Anywho, he can see this happening. So he decides, I'm going to go find these girls. How does he do this? Because you should know, even if you have a dream or a vision 50 times, you're not going to remember what somebody looked like in your vision or your dream more specifically. Well, apparently he's seen it enough times to know what these girls look like. So he quite literally goes into a computer, shows these girls, he goes into a computer and he quite literally puts the exact face of these girls on his computer or the screen from his vision that he only can see from his vision. He unmasks these girls and then de-ages them by 10 years. I cannot emphasize how insane this is. And might I add, this is 2003. They had technology where you can literally take somebody from your dreams and de-age them and find them. I cannot emphasize how insane this is. Not only that, but the entire movie, or that entire scene, has terrible ADR, where his lips do not match a single word he's saying. And on top of that, he's talking like a robot the entire scene. It is one of the worst scenes I've seen in a movie, and it is absolutely insane that they let this slide. As a whole, though, this is a movie that nobody cared about when they made it. Literally, from the writing, as they got literally the writers from Morbius, because we know how good that movie is, to write this movie. The characters are uninteresting. The plot is uninteresting. And I had to pause the movie several times because I couldn't comprehend the insanity that was going on throughout this movie. This movie is not a movie that you watch, it's a movie you nitpick because it does something stupid every 5 minutes. Although, if I had to give one good reason to watch this movie, it's a small one, but it's not a big one. You will have the time of your life if you get with a group of friends and you nitpick this every 5 seconds. You will have the time of your life because this movie does stupid stuff that much. So I've been a pretty negative Nancy throughout this review. So I will leave with one thing that's not too bad in this movie. And it's this one scene where Cassie finds her mother, or doesn't find her mother. She communicates with her mother in a scene that's not too bad. The problem is the scene doesn't make any sense because her mother's been dead for 20, 30 years. So, I mean, it's not much, but I mean, at least it's something. If I had to give this movie a score, I'd give it a 2 out of 10 because at least you'll have a good time if you watch it with a group of friends. And I can't say that about some other movies that exist in this Sony universe. But with that out of the way, thank you so much for watching this review. I'm going to be on vacation in the next this week, excuse me. And then I'm going back to school, so I can't say I'm going to review a lot of movies going forward, but I will continue to try to do so. It's a little difficult with school going on, but I will continue to try to do so. But with that out of the way, thank you so much for watching this review. I will see you all next time whenever I record. Have a great rest of your day.